Hello. Welcome back. Pastor Gino Jennings made headlines when he openly and aggressively criticized Bishop T.D. Jakes in front of his congregation and thousands of online viewers. He didn't hold back, accusing Jakes of avoiding theological confrontation and labeling him as someone unwilling to defend his beliefs. Jennings didn't just imply cowardice, he said it outright. But what could have prompted such a bold and direct challenge between two of the most recognizable black pastors in America? The answer lies deeper than mere disagreement. This isn't just about doctrine. It's about identity, leadership, and influence within modern Christianity. Gino Jennings is widely known for his fiery preaching style and unwavering commitment to strict biblical doctrine, particularly from an apostolic Pentecostal perspective. He's the kind of preacher who calls things out directly, often sparking both admiration and controversy. He believes in oneness theology, a view that differs from the mainstream Christian doctrine of the Trinity, and he's vocal about calling out anyone he feels dilutes biblical truth for broader appeal. And for years, Jennings has been side-eyeing T.D. Jakes, a preacher whose reach goes far beyond traditional church walls. Bishop T.D. Jakes, leader of the Potter's House, a massive megachurch in Dallas, has built his reputation on messages of empowerment, prosperity, and inclusivity. His approach is charismatic, his influence global. While Jakes also holds to oneness theology, his interpretation of it is less rigid than Jennings's, and this difference has long been a sticking point. Jennings views Jakes as someone who's compromised, someone who's shaped his message to fit modern, comfortable Christianity, rather than standing firm on foundational doctrine. Over time, this unspoken tension began to bubble. For years, there had been murmurs among Jennings' supporters about the idea of the two men meeting face-to-face for a theological dialogue. The goal wasn't to win an argument, necessarily, but to put both men's interpretations under the light and see what came of it. Jennings didn't shy away from the idea. In fact, he welcomed it. He publicly invited Jakes to sit down and talk theology, to settle their differences like men of God should. But Jakes didn't respond. At first, the silence could be interpreted as simply a lack of time or interest. Jakes, after all, is a busy man running an international ministry. But as time passed, the absence of a response became more conspicuous. Jennings interpreted it not as disinterest, but as fear, an unwillingness to defend one's beliefs in a public forum. And from Jennings's pulpit, that silence became ammunition. With the public's attention growing, Jennings took a firm stand during one of his sermons, using his platform to directly call out Jakes in front of both his congregation and online viewers. The message was fiery, uncompromising, and full of passion. Jennings accused Jakes of being afraid to speak truth and of caring more about his image than his integrity. To Jennings, truth matters more than reputation. His message was that real spiritual leaders shouldn't avoid confrontation when the gospel is at stake. What made this moment explosive wasn't just the words, it was the delivery. Jennings wasn't quiet or cautious. He was loud, angry, and direct. The crowd inside his church largely cheered, echoing his frustrations. But outside that room, opinions were more divided. Was this passion or pride? Courage or provocation? When the pressure reached Jakes, people waited to see how he would react. Would he accept the challenge and meet Jennings for a discussion? Would he finally respond to the accusations? What came next surprised many. Jakes responded, but not in the way people expected. Rather than meeting Jennings head-on or addressing him directly, Jakes crafted a sermon that addressed the situation in broader terms. He warned against engaging in meaningless debates and focused on the importance of unity and love in the church. Without naming names, he made it clear that he wasn't going to play into what he saw as a divisive spectacle. Jakes positioned himself as the mature one, the leader choosing peace over public confrontation. To his followers, Jakes' message felt wise and steady. But for Jennings's camp, it seemed like another dodge. Jennings's supporters believed that real leadership meant facing criticism directly, not sidestepping it with poetic sermons. For them, Jakes's refusal to name Jennings or address the situation head-on was more proof that he wasn't willing to defend his views publicly. Jennings didn't let it slide. He fired back in another sermon, stating that if a leader truly stands behind their message, they don't shy away from difficult conversations. The war of words had now become a defining moment in both men's ministries, forcing the Christian community to take notice and, in many cases, take sides. What followed was a deeply polarized response from the public. Some applauded Jennings for standing up and demanding theological accountability. Others praised Jakes for remaining above the drama and focusing on the larger mission of the church. Yet, beneath it all, a more troubling question emerged. Was this still about theology, or had it become a struggle for influence and control? Just when things seemed to be settling into a stalemate, a surprising voice entered the conversation. Dr. Marcus Gray, a respected theologian with personal connections to both men. He didn't choose a side. In fact, he shocked both camps by stating publicly that they were both in the wrong. He argued that what the public was witnessing wasn't a theological dispute, but a clash of egos. Dr. Gray called out the church's celebrity culture, suggesting that pastors like Jennings and Jakes had become more focused on personal empires than on spreading the true gospel. He criticized the public nature of the conflict and questioned how it might be affecting the faith of everyday believers. To him, both pastors had allowed pride to cloud their judgment, and their followers were the ones paying the price. What made Dr. Gray's commentary so powerful was his credibility. He wasn't an outsider throwing stones. He had worked alongside both Jennings and Jakes and knew their histories. His words struck a nerve, challenging not just the two leaders, but the entire Christian community to think about what kind of leadership they were supporting.